And welcome back, everyone, to One on One with Nate and Aziz, hashtag Triple O Show. So, since I finished my love affair with the Atlanta Hawks, now we're going to talk about the not so bright moments, or our not so bright moments of the draft. So I'll let you start this one off.
I'm gonna kick it off for us.
Yeah,
man.
go ahead. What you got for us?
Well, we talked about this in the last segment, which is my Chicago Bulls unfortunately passing up on a great offensive talent in Cam Reddish, and instead choosing a somewhat, proven yet still undetermined point guard, Kobe White.
Quotation marks point guard.
Right. Look, I watched him this year at UNC, playing in the tournament. He had some great games. Really was the driving offensive force for that team at key times late in the game. But in Chicago, I think we need someone that's a very high IQ point guard, can really structure a solid offensive unit, or head that. And I don't know if he's the guy to do that. He's a bit, erratic at times. Plays at a fast pace, which is something I think we do need to do. But yeah, I mean, with what could still be the opportunity to slot Levine in at the one, among some other guys, and then have Reddish at the two, or three. I think that was a missed opportunity for us.
Yeah, it was a little confusing to me. I mean, you kind of got to take, as they say, the best player available.
I think we definitely wanted Garland.
Yeah.
I think had he been available at the 7, then we would have taken him. But we'll talk about that in a second.
Right.
But yeah, it's he was the fourth point guard off the board. Yeah, Ja, RJ, Darius, then Kobe.
Yeah.
I think we do need to fill that position, but that might have been a swing and a miss.
Yeah. So before we get into the Bulls, I heard there were some rumblings during the draft that Cleveland was actually looking to trade out of that 5th spot, but they wanted the team to take J.R. Smith's contract, which for the life of me, I don't know. Like, that sounds reasonable to me in my book, know? Like,
Yeah, why they wouldn't take that?
yeah, whoever they've been offering that to, but as we see, obviously it didn't happen. But yeah, Kobe White, like I said, I don't think he's a bad. I guess ceiling, he reminds me of Gilbert Arenas.
Okay.
Which
I
is
think that was a comparison they threw out there, yeah.
Which isn't a bad thing, but playing next to Zach LaVine.
Yeah, who's also kind of an in-between guy.
Yeah. I don't know how that works because, like you said, you would be better off with a player like Garland had you been able to get him just with the other pieces you have, like a Otto Porter, Markkanen, and Wendell Carter. And so
It's just more well-balanced.
yeah, I think even, Culver went before him. But
I think we were looking at Culver.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Kobe White's a decent, I think he's like 6'5".
Yeah.
So size-wise, our lineup, should we be able to defend, which has to be a priority this year, bro. Like, man, we lost all semblance of defense last year, let alone our offense. But again, very similarly to the Hawks, if we can kind of defend across positions, maybe he doesn't have to be a offensive
Facilitating
leader, right?
point
Exactly. He could just find his opportunities. But yeah, Culver I think was another top guy on our board. There was no way Hunter was slipping, I think, that far. But we need as well I think a guy that can play both ends of the floor, and that's why I definitely wanted Reddish.
Well, I was gonna say we don't know offensively what Chandler Hutchinson will become, but I think defensively he showed flashes last year. I think with anything, with players coming into the draft, everyone's talented. Everyone has potential. That's why they're at this point in their career, getting ready to progress. But the fit is so important, as
Absolutely.
far as how their development goes. And
Hmm.
so I think that's kind of one of the issues with your Bulls is that they have talent, but what's the system and how does
Exactly.
it work?
Hmm.
Because I can see a world where Kobe White and Zach LaVine are able to play together, but I think you're looking at more of a, a lesser version of what Houston does, and where you're letting Zach LaVine come up and pretty
Hmm.
much facilitate,
Hmm.
let's say 65-70% of the offense.
Hmm.
Because, like you said, I don't think Kobe White's going to be that guy to
Yeah.
distribute. But
We'll
if you get the
see.
coaching in there, you
Yeah.
never know what could happen.
I mean, to your point, I think a lot of teams, young teams in today's league, have an issue with their identity. They have the talent. They have guys who might even be the clear, best player on the team, but they still don't have something that kind of, keeps them together, keeps them succinct.
Everybody
Um,
wants to try to be the Warriors, but if
right.
you don't have those kind of players,
Yeah, you
gotta
can't just
get a new
stack your
system.
chips.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Phoenix, we talked about them. Timberwolves, Boston has just disintegrated from a ton of talent. So it's I think Zach LaVine. Look, I've actually grown to appreciate him in terms of balancing us at times throughout last season, especially on the defensive end. Because, like I said, man, we were just terrible. But I think we need to continue to shape him as the true leader of the team. So
Yeah.
putting the ball in his hands more often will probably continue to be the case. But if White can be a consistent scorer, then look, I'll give the dude some time to prove me wrong.
I think he can. I mean, for him being the seventh pick in the draft, you'd obviously want more from him. But in I guess these next coming years, I can see him showing those flashes that we've seen from Antonio Blakely.
Yeah, exactly.
The last year or 2. Like I think he has that potential early on, but of course you'd want him to develop in more than that.
Yeah, and we still have, like you said, guys like Blakeney. Chris Dunn has been our kind of whirlwind player who has, shown great things for us at certain times, but, has some off-court issues, has some postseason issues. And so, I think that's something we also need to cement is who is going to be the guy off the bench, who's going to be consistent in the rotation. Yeah, Archie Diacono is there. Lemon Jr., man. If y'all don't know about is it Walt Lemon Jr.? Yes.
Walter Lemon Jr.
Check this dude out on YouTube. I mean, his highlights in 4 games
Right.
alone will have you
Super
pretty hyped, man, for
Derrick
some old
Rose
D
the
Rose,
third,
yeah,
right.
nostalgia. So like you said, we have some pieces, but we'll see if they can put it together.
Speaking of other teams that are in need of point guards, Phoenix. So Phoenix had the 6th pick in the draft. So, they were slotted right in there for that Garland Kobe White sweepstakes, which on all intents and purposes, I thought that's what was going to happen because clearly that's what you need. Like, they tried playing Devin Booker in that James Harden role. Of course, the numbers look good, but, it doesn't translate to wins as we saw.
Exactly.
So you need to put a facilitating guard in there with that
Bring
team.
back Ulyss. No, you're right, man. I think that was probably one of the pivotal, those 3 picks were, the most tied to each other.
Yeah.
Because you're right. I think everybody early knew Ja and Barrett.
Everybody knew
were
the
gonna
first
be going.
3
Yeah.
that were off. And from there, you kind of figured Hunter.
Because Garland even, I think, had some potential talks to slip.
Yeah.
Given the team. But I think Cleveland, if they're going to stick with him, is certainly considering moving somebody else.
Yeah. Let's
so-
let's get through the Phoenix first before we go
Yeah.
to Cleveland because that's a whole nother situation. So Phoenix traded the 6th pick to the Minnesota Timberwolves for Dario Saric in the 11th pick, and so that 6th pick, Minnesota took Jarrett Culver which I think is a very good pick for them. I think we'll get to that as well. But so Phoenix drafted Cameron Johnson from UNC at 11, which if that wasn't a shock to you, all you need to do is watch the video. Did you see the video of Kobe White at the press conference?
No, but I saw the post about it.
I'll have to show it to you, but he could not believe it himself. They were
Really?
talking to him, and they're like, "By the way, Cam Johnson just got drafted." What? Cam Johnson went where? Wow, bro, that's so much like he could not believe it himself. Because not that Cameron Johnson's not a bad player at all, but I don't think anyone had him being a lottery pick.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, going into the draft and all the combines and workouts, there were, the one thing they kept saying about Cameron Johnson was that he was the best shooter in the draft, which maybe percentage-wise, I think he's definitely a good shooter from what I've seen. But I don't think he's the kind of player that you need a point guard in Phoenix. And you just
Definitely.
drafted another 2 guard when you already still have, so you have Devin Booker, Mikal Bridges, Josh Jackson. You did just trade T.J. Warren. Thankfully, they finally freed T.J. Warren.
He's out of there, man. That's
But
awesome.
with those trio of guys, Bridges, Jackson, and Booker, it's like Cam Johnson, he might not do what those guys do, but he's pretty much still in that same mold.
Exactly.
It doesn't help you with what your needs are. And so that just baffled me, as well as, so you get Dario Saric.
Exactly. Saric also is can play the two. I mean, he's fairly undersized in a lot of situations. So yeah, I mean, are they just gonna be a completely 6'6" team? Like,
And then I forget what the other deal was, but I know they acquired Aaron Baines as well. So it's like, I don't know what you're doing. What thought process is going on? What are you building your team? Where are they going? I think they just re-signed Tyler Johnson as well, which phenomenal player, but once again, not a point guard.
What deal too?
It's
See,
something.
that's
more
another
than
thing. I mean,
that.
are they trying to stay fairly cheap for now? As they plan to acquire, or like, you're right. What is the freaking strategy?
My thoughts were, okay, you traded out of that 6th spot because maybe you felt like, okay, maybe we won't be able to get Garland here or White, so we trade T.J. Warren to free up cap space, and we trade out that pick because we don't see a point guard we like. So maybe we go after, a Kemba Walker, Ricky Rubio, or D'Angelo Russell. That would make sense to me, but it's Phoenix, so I just...
Yeah, that's what I was thinking before. I mean, they talked about Russell, with the potential of Kyrie coming in and him leaving. Phoenix would be an excellent pick. Again, I don't know how they're enticing Booker to even consider, not demanding a trade in this upcoming season.
Because they already paid him. So it's like, at this point now, you paid him in the hopes of putting a team around him, which you got Ayton last year, which, it's a good start. But now it's like you did a 180 from there. And how can you expect them, like you said, to want to stay in that kind of situation in the twilight or, the younger years of his career?
What do you think it would have been worth considering keeping that pick?
I think so, because like you could have got White, maybe Garland, or even like I was saying earlier, like I said, there was no official reports, but maybe you trade that 6th pick, swap it for the 5th with Cleveland and take J.R. Smith, and then you're able to get a guy like Garland. But once you trade out before the draft even starts, you have no options to do so. So yeah, Phoenix, good luck. Although they did draft Ty Jerome in the 2nd round, point guard from Virginia.
Right. Well, he was traded to. I think he was drafted by Philly, right?
Yeah, I think he was drafted them and then traded to Phoenix. Okay. And then as well, on the point guard theme, they did sign Jalen LeCue and Jared Harper.
Okay.
So, I mean, LeCue was thought to be, a first round, he's definitely first round talent. Now, we don't know how he'll play against competition.
He just has to see floor time.
Right. I mean, he has to make the team first for one. But
right.
I'll be peeping him out at Summer League as well to see how he plays.
Yeah, that's That's interesting. I actually forgot about him in this year's draft.
Is he really a point guard though? Once again,
He'll have to be. I mean, dude, who are you guarding? Yeah, I think he can be if he can learn to distribute better.
I think they definitely try to point him more to being a distributor in his, last 1 or 2 years of high school. But with that athleticism, like I feel like you're hindering his potential at least at the high school level. Like there's no reason for him to try to be
just like a Dennis Smith Jr.
Yeah, in high school at least, because you're not playing with that type of talent for you to be passing the ball as much.
Just go dunk it, bro.
Exactly.
It's a bucket is a bucket. Like
in high school, it's literally that easy. So, speaking of players that just dunk the ball in high school, let's talk about Cleveland and their point guards. So they drafted Darius Garland with the 5th pick, who
barely played.
That's one. I think like all these guys are talented. Like we're not knocking anything about them. I think my disappointments more so come from the teams and how they feel like they're gonna fit.
Yeah.
So last year, I believe with the 8th pick, the Cavaliers selected Colin Sexton, quote point guard from Alabama. And, he started out the year a little rough. There were some rumblings that, him and the teammates weren't getting along. He didn't know how to play defense or run pick and roll. But we saw as the year went on, maybe the last 6 to 8 weeks, he really came on and found, his niche in that team as a scoring lead guard. So it seemed like, okay, the way this season ended, we have a role for him now,
right?
Like how he's gonna fit. And although they still have a million guards, Jordan Clarkson, Deladova, Nwap, it's too many guards to name. But it seemed like okay, we're young, and this is gonna be our player of the future. And then you go out and get Darius Garland, like what?
Who I see is actually the better talent.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, it's you're right. I mean, we were talking about that a little bit before the show. Is you have a second year point guard, which probably more so than any other role on the team should be kind of cementing himself, through his leadership in that position. Is now going to be challenged by a first year guy that's probably throughout the season going to show to be clearly more talented. What is the organization saying to both of them at this stage? Are they trying to create a, trailblazer situation wherein you have, one guy? I think Garland can be an off-ball guy if he needed to play more of the CJ role. I think he has the ability to just not necessarily off ball, right? But he doesn't have to facilitate the offense like Sexton.
I think he can play off the ball, like you said. He'll play off the ball better than Colin would. But
it's still, I think, hindering both of them.
Yeah, and that's a very small lineup to have those two guys on the floor.
Definitely. Yeah, dude, he looks smaller than I thought coming into the. And I don't know what his measurements were officially.
6'2".
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he looks small in the green room, but he's just, an offensive dynamo. But I don't know, man. I don't know what Cleveland has this in terms of a long-term solution other than just stacking up draft picks and assets that they can eventually trade. But do you think they're going to tell Colin, hey, this guy's going to be bringing the ball up the floor now?
I think they kind of have to. I don't see him being I feel like he's the kind of player in the media. You put a microphone in front of his face, he's going to be real receptive. Like, oh yeah, I just want to win. I just want to do that. But behind scenes, I don't see him taking liking to having a younger player come in and whether whoever's going to be the focal point of that team. But I don't see him gravitating and accepting having Garland coming in and taking the ball out of his hands.
Which is going to be a challenge because, next year they're still so limited on offense. So that you're going to be asking both of these guys, I think, to do a good bit of shooting. they're going to have to create some understanding on the floor, even outside of the coaching. They're going to have some chemistry there. But, we've heard already that Cleveland could possibly explore trading Sexton. Again, because I just think Garland has that much more potential. As an NBA player, nothing, not to take any away from Colin. He had a great, college season. But like you said, he's still a bit rough around the edges at the NBA
tweener.
level.
He's not really a point guard.
Right.
Too small to be a two guard.
But. Yeah. I don't know. I still think inevitably Garland could fit alongside him if needed. But it goes back, it's a situation to me very much like the John Wall, Brad Beal, who talent-wise, ego-wise, coaching, or organization's message, culture, whatever, that all fits in to create some displacement on the floor. So we'll see, man. It's gonna be not gonna be a successful season for them. I know that.
Well, they'll get another draft pick next year.
Yeah.
As long as they don't get Anthony Edwards, I'll be fine. But they're definitely gonna try to put those guys together. I wouldn't be surprised if it happens this year, but I'm gonna go ahead and say, start of next season, one of those players will not be on the Cavaliers.
Okay.
I
don't think Sexton is in high demand. That's my problem.
Was Markelle Fultz?
Yeah, but you'll
find a deal. Like the fact that he actually played, like he's gonna be movable.
Yeah.
Phoenix. Well, he's not a point guard, but that's a Phoenix move.
Definitely. Oh my god.
But like you're saying, I think like you said, the demand not be high, but somebody's gonna want him. So like I said, I do not believe that one of those two players will be on the Cavaliers not this season, but start of next season.
Okay.
So we'll have to see about that.
Any other kind of throw out there?
Orlando drafting Chuma Okeke at 16th. And I'm a fan of Chuma. He went to Westlake here in Atlanta, and they beat the bleep out of Colin in the playoffs his senior year. So, I was forever endeavored from there. But it's surprising to see him grow and mature as a player over the last 3 years, because in high school, whenever you're 6'4" or taller, you can just get away with, getting the ball in the post, which he's very skilled, but, you don't have to show as many skills. There's a difference between being a 6'8" player in high school and being a 6'8" player at a D1 level.
Yeah.
Which he showed that he was phenomenal at both. But, like, he wasn't really in shape in high school. He was definitely, like, a post player, a back to the basket kind of guy that could just handle the ball better than kids his age. But seeing him over the past 2 years at Auburn, I see that he slimmed down, so they definitely got him on a good weight program or diet, whatever it was. And then his shooting has improved, his mobile lateral ability. Like, you just seen, like, his progression as a player to get him to be the 16th pick. But my issue is, I believe he tore his ACL in March during the tournament.
Oh, really?
So for you to have that kind of injury and then be drafted in the first round, like Orlando, I guess they're just going super ultra big. You got your Bombas, your Jonathan Isaacs, and your Aaron Gordons, and
maybe they're going on his track record of developing quickly every year, or in those 2 years he was there, getting in shape. Maybe they're just banging on him coming back and showing that much more growth. But yeah, why do they need so many bigs, and especially for this upcoming year? No, they don't. I've heard, because Bamba didn't have a great year.
No.
And Isaac is still kind of iffy for me too.
He's still getting into his own, but
yeah,
it's kind of hard. I think it's been shown that Isaac's an offensive, like that's where he's gonna
he could
thrive. But when you've got Aaron Gordon still, you're trying to figure out what he is. Or
Aaron Jordan.
right. They're trying to give him the keys, but then they don't, because it's weird. Cause it's like sometimes they'll play him at the 4, sometimes they'll play him at the 3. Like, and like we were saying, it all goes back to what is your Orlando doesn't have a system for the talent that they have.
Right.
They just love Evan Fournier for some reason.
Yeah.
But I didn't look, especially for Orlando making the playoffs this year, I didn't see them as a team because you're drafting an injured player.
Right.
Like Michael Porter was last year. Like, they don't seem like they're a team that's in a position to draft a project or someone, that you're going to wait a year before they can even play.
Exactly.
Like, you would figure you'd get a lot more value drafting someone that can actually play. And then especially with him tearing his ACL, I just didn't feel like, of course he's a first-round talent, but it's like you probably could have got him way later
Definitely.
than you did. So that was just
well, that's another thing. I mean, we were
baffling
talking
me.
about guys at that position, kind of the 3 and 4. There were a lot of players coming into the draft this year at that size, and guys like Nazir Little having the potential that was shown in his high school career, and even in flashes during college. It is kind of confusing why certain players were chosen where they were at.
Yeah. So, I mean, of course, wish all the best to him. Hope he recovers strong and comes and play. I just
Orlando's not doing anything this year, man.
Free Vucevic, man.
Yeah, disappointing for him. I thought Aaron Gordon. I think in given if he was put in another situation, right, on a team where he had a very distinct role, where he could still be versatile. I'm thinking, well, yeah, I don't know. Look, the Hawks maybe even.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, but where he doesn't have to, he's not gonna have the ball in his hands, but he's gonna be given different situations to maybe take his man off the dribble or whatever. But they're going nowhere this year. So maybe it'll just be time for that dude to kind of recover, rehabilitate himself, train, and
he'll be.
It's to his benefit, right? The organization will be waiting.
So you got 2 projects now. You've got Chuma coming off injury, and then whatever's going on with Markelle Fultz for a team that just finished as the 7th seed in the East. So, like I said, what is the identity of Orlando? You might not have.
We
an answer
held
for
our
that.
breath
Like,
on that one.
I don't think we have an
I need
answer
to
for
breathe
that.
again. Yeah, I don't know, man. I honestly feel like there's starting to be more of a separation in the hierarchy of the league, where, and it might even be under the influence of teams like a Philadelphia or the Thunder going back all those years, where teams are willing to try organic growth, slow processes, building guys through development or just stacking assets and then eventually hoping it works out. Being willing to have 3 or 4 different coaches over the course of 6 years.
Trust the process.
Right. Like, I don't know. I don't think that works for everyone, or that, people have figured it out. Lucky enough for Philadelphia, they were able to position themselves to get Embiid, and get Simmons. Yeah, like that's, you can still position yourself to get a number 1 or 2 pick, but it doesn't mean you're bringing in next level talent.
There's a template for success, but it can't be applied to everyone.
Right.
Only one team can win the championship every year, but that doesn't mean that your team's not successful. Because
exactly,
like you're saying, look at Golden State, what they've done over the past couple of years, and what's got them a championship. Just in general, being a successful team, look at what the Sixers did and how that got them to where they are now. And then this year, look at Toronto.
Exactly.
All 3 different teams, all have been successful, and they're, we'll call them elite teams now, but they all got their different ways. So you just got to figure out what do you have and how it can work from you, but you can't just assume, okay, well, this team did this, so we're going to try to do that, because there's a lot of talented players in the league, but there's, there's only one Kevin Durant, there's only one Steph Curry, so
Exactly.
you can't
Exactly.
try and mirror something based off of that.
Exactly. And I mean, we talk about the circumstance so often, but I mean, that's why it just shows itself in every situation. You can have this, like you said, the same exact mold. You know, I think LeBron James tries to, configure these same teams every year that maybe in the past it's worked for you one season,
Right.
bro, but it's not. You got to try something else.
Yeah.
So that's what's
really
frustrating
agree
me
with
is that it when you're utilizing freshmen, why am I saying freshmen? When you're utilizing rookies, who their first year is one of the most important years of their entire career, you could really shut down their entire potential just based on, Markelle Fultz will be a case study. Like, seriously. It might be part of him, hurting himself or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Everybody's
I truly
to blame.
feel like over time, the organization was just like, we don't trust this dude. He's going no. So it sucks, but for a team like Cleveland, for example, who's gonna have to figure out who they prioritize. Do you ruin Sexton's career? Do you shut Garland down for a minute? A lot of teams have to think about that.
Yeah. So to wrap it up, do better.
Seriously, man. Think harder.
All right. So that's going to wrap up our disappointments. When we come back, we're going